Hello everyone. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at an article from the Washington Examiner. Now, this was published on February 26th. It's written by Kayleen Deese, who's a breaking news reporter there. Look at the title here. Maricopa County judge finds GOP Senate subpoenas of election materials are legal and enforceable. Well, of course they are. The state and federal Senate, legislatures have the power to issue subpoenas. No brainer. Here's the thing. And they're not really talking about it with this. I'm sure in general, this whole situation. On top of this, it was the Republican senators who were trying to get this information from a, county board that was GOP controlled, basically. Which should tell you there might be a little bit of shady shit going on. To be honest. Let's get into the article here. The Superior Court of Maricopa County, Arizona, found that state's Senate Republican subpoenas of election materials and equipment are legal and enforceable. The court finds that subpoenas are legal and enforceable. There is no question that the senators have the power to issue legislative subpoenas, Judge Timothy Thompson said Friday in a readout following a Thursday hearing of the issue. Well, at least, we got a judge here that's following the fact of how things should go, legally, by law and state and federal, on the note of state and federal level, along with constitutions on that note as well. The subpoenas comply with the statutory requirements for legislative subpoenas. The Senate has also broad constitutional power to oversee elections, the court's conclusion added. It would have been nice if the Supreme Court with the case the other day that they rejected with Pennsylvania, if, with Thomas basically saying the same idea of, the state legislatures have this, we should have heard this, we should have set limits, you would think, the highest law of the land, as it were, the highest court, would be, putting out no-nonsense rulings like this instead of avoiding the whole situation. But here's a state court in Arizona, a judge on, on the note of not say a state court, but we'll say on the level of a state, saying, totally legal, totally enforceable, but, it is a state judge. So, you got to love how a lower court judge has more credibility than justices on the Supreme Court, has more, adheres more to the law than the Supreme Court, is willing to make rulings based on those things, unlike the Supreme Court. It's so sad. But anyway, the GOP-backed county board requested Thompson to nullify the subpoena issued by the Senate. Get that. GOP-backed county board, so GOP-controlled, did not want this to happen. I wonder, is it a never Trump situation? Could there be some shady shit going on there? If it wasn't for the fact that the judge said, they can subpoena this stuff, we wouldn't find out. If it wasn't for the fact of these Arizona's, the Republicans in the Arizona State Senate wanting to look into this and see what's what, we wouldn't know this. We wouldn't be able to find out what's going to, we wouldn't have an opportunity, I should say, to find out if there was fuckery that went on in Arizona at the time of the You would think, regardless of paradigm, the paradigm, or whether you're, on the false left or the false right, regardless of that, you would think you would basically want to put this to bed when you have over half the country says that, fuckery was afoot and they don't trust the results or anything like that. You would think that would just be the smart play, that you go, let's put all this shit to bed. Let's put it to rest. Nope. They don't do that, which makes you then look at the situation and you come to a conclusion of, even more so, there was fuckery that was afoot. But they don't understand this. They just think they can sweep it under the rug and don't have to worry about it. It'll just disappear. And the fact that you have this GOP-backed county trying to nullify their subpoena power just goes to show you that this shady shit happened with both sides of the false left paradigm, all right, with creepy, sleepy Uncle Joe and where he's ended up. Just saying. They argued that the ballots are sealed under laws the legislature passed, and the Senate does not have the right to access them, claiming it would be illegal. But this is what's funny. They think that they've got a big brain play here with this one, and it's not. It's a really low IQ take. The Arizona legislature clearly has the power to investigate and examine election reform matters. Accordingly, the senators have the power to subpoena materials as part of an inquiry into election reform measures, the judge said in his review. So basically, the judge is going, no, piss off. I ain't buying that one. Nice try. The state's subpoenas did not violate the separation of powers principle, and subpoena materials would not violate confidentiality laws, Thomason said. Well, of course they won't. This is what's funny. They're scrambling. They're afraid with this situation. And we're going to see in a second why the GOP-backed county might have something to hide with what they're looking to get. Indeed, if that were the case, it would be illegal for any county official to see any ballot after it was prepared for voting, which makes absolutely no sense. But they're trying to say that that's common sense logic according to this, common sense according to their bullshit logic. That they're trying to use here. It's so sad. It is apparent that the word person, as used in the statute, does not refer to government officials, Thompson said. Of course it doesn't. How are they supposed to count the ballots and everything if what they're claiming were true? Arizona State President Karen Fann announced on December 2020 that 2 subpoenas were served to the county's election board. One subpoena calls for a scanned ballot audit in order to collect an electronic ballot image cast for all mail-in ballots counted in the county's November 2020 election. That really scares them because they don't want to release the scanned copies of the mail-in ballots. You know they don't, because if they're able to look at it and there's anything shady, what are they going to do? They don't want that to happen. The second subpoena calls for a full forensic audit of ballot tabulation equipment, the software for that equipment, and the election management system used in the 2020 general election, which basically, the company that shall not be named that's involved in elections, Dominion? I'm not afraid to name them. Yeah, you know that they've probably got like some skin in the game with that. Of course they do. And I wouldn't be surprised if the GOP-backed county, the GOP-run county might be in bed, the people there might be in bed with Dominion or other shady shit going on. Because this is hilarious how they're like, oh, well, they can't have access to this stuff. Senate, the hell with their subpoenas. They're like trying to ignore them and stuff. It's hilarious, the mentality of these people that are of the political class. It's like, screw all you all. It's the mentality of Marie Antoinette, let them eat cake, they're beneath me. Why should I even bother? They don't matter. I mean, that's the type of thing that's going on here. And a lot of Americans have woken up to this, especially with this, over the last, 4 years of Trump in office. And now, especially after with the election and everything else. It's why you've got Silicon Valley clamping down like they are, censoring and doing all the other shit that they're doing, acting as publishers when they're supposed to be platforms. You have Democrats demanding that they censor even more. You have them demanding the cable providers remove like alternative views on the note of like the false left-right paradigm, like with Newsmax and One American News and Fox News. I mean, we're seriously at a point where they're also their Ministry of Truth, their Truth Commission. Oh, God. I believe that's what they're just calling it. It might have something in front of it, but the Truth Commission, this is the type of world we've moved into with this situation. And people are waking, since the election and even before, leading up to it. People are waking up because of it. They think that they're clamping down, doing these things, thinking that they're going to regain control. But in the process, they're waking up more people to their shit. It's going to be a never-ending vicious circle. See, when you had the powers that be with the establishment that that are helping, bring in the whole idea of globalism and sell us out, like neocon rhinos like Romney and pretty much all of the Democrat Party and a large chunk of Republicans, because, Cocaine Mitch with his wife's ties and shit is doing, China shit like that. But with them selling us out, okay, they basically want to go back to the days of how it was, where people were asleep, they could feed us some bullshit and get away with it because of the internet, alternative media, average people like me being able to call out the bullshit, go through articles, give my opinions, and just the internet creating a situation for stuff like that. And for anyone to be able to go out and start competing with the legacy media, all right, they're screwed at this point, and they're now trying to regain control. And the more that they do that, the more that they're causing people to look up and take notice. There's no other way around it. Back then, they were more suave about their control. They were more string puller. They were more manipulative. Now they're just in your face. If you don't agree with them, they're going to try to destroy your life, get you canceled, shit like that. I mean, look at CNN with how they try to cancel people and doxing an old grandma back what was it, like 3 or 4 years ago, showing up at her house and doxing her. That's how things have moved, because it's like the manipulation isn't working, so now they're going to try using force. They're going to try using the soy patrol to get you to bow down and cuck. And it's funny because they don't want any of this stuff to come out with, like, the election. This is not going to get covered by the legacy media. We're at a point where they want to control everything. I mean, you've got, what was it? New York Times a week ago, basically, calling for an end to critical thinking, an end to doing research and asking questions, the Socratic method. They wanted the end of it. Because if you go and you look into something like this, if they're not, because the legacy media says, nothing going on, and a judge says that they can do this, and if this expedition looking into these things, by the Senate, this investigation, this inquiry, if it turns up something, the legacy media is going to try to cover it, up. They're going to try to bury it. And they don't want you to critically think and start asking questions and start researching on your own and find out otherwise. They're basically saying, trust Google, trust the top resources. They actually said trust Wikipedia, okay, as a first-rate type of source idea to figure out if something's bullshit. That's how they plan on trying to hide stuff like this, is by getting rid of critical thinking. Anyway, county board supervisors already have provided much of what the subpoenas requested, from voted data to election logs, but not the ballots or access to the machines. Now, here's what's funny about that. This is why I decided to do this video, was this right here. This particular statement. I don't understand why the Washington Examiner phrased this like this, because that doesn't mean shit. All right? This does not mean a damn thing. The county board of supervisors already provided what much of the subpoenas requested, from voter data and election logs. Voter data and election logs came from the fact of those voting machines. Okay? It's not a hard copy of a ballot. They didn't give them shit. What they want does not relate to that, because what they physically want to see is inspect the ballots. Why do you think they want the digital hard copies? Well, they're not hard copies, obviously, because they're not on paper, but you know what I mean, the digital copies of these ballots, so that they can be physically inspected. Why do you think they want to get the physical access to the machine, so they can be physically inspected? Because if shit's been manipulated, if you've got these shady ballots that happen to be in there, if you have these types of things, what they got from the county board, okay, is based off of the inaccuracy created by shady ballots, created by the fact of if there was something up with the machines, created by anything like that. It's not like having the actual physical ballots there themselves, whether it be a digital copy or a physical hard paper ballot copy or photocopy of a ballot or the physical ballot itself, which is what they don't want. Because if you actually have those things beyond what they're claiming here was pretty much given, if you have those things, you can show whether or not that's complete bullshit. And they don't want that to happen. I don't know why the Washington Examiner worded shit the way they did like that. It's like they're like basically trying to be like, nothing to see here, while they're reporting on the fact of this has merit. Anyway, the results of the county's independent audit released Tuesday found that the votes were counted correctly, the machines worked properly, and the machines were not hacked or connected to the internet during the election, which is another reason why I decided to do this. They're carrying water for the county GOP there that's like, no, which to me, anyone with half a brain, when they're trying to say that the state Senate doesn't have the power to subpoena this stuff, all right, makes you go, they got something to probably hide, or they're trying to hide something, or anything along those lines. But here's the Washington Examiner going, oh, well, they investigated themselves, and they didn't find shit. Seriously, that's what they're saying. They investigated themselves, and they didn't find shit. Well, of course they didn't find shit, because why? If they did find shit, they're exposing their own incompetence. So, of course, they're going to claim that they didn't find a damn thing wrong and everything was tabulated correctly, which I'm sure, now that the Senate will get these things, watch, we're going to find out that there was some shady shit that happened. That fuckery was afoot. But they inspected themselves. They investigated themselves and nothing there. I mean, this is seriously some messed up shit. This is disgusting. This is the world we live in. The United States is officially a banana fucking republic, people. The county's independent audit. How is the county's independent audit? How is it, if the counties do auditing themselves, how the hell is that independent? Anyway, the Senate wants another audit of ballots and a check of voter information, while the county has contended that its multiple audits have been sufficient and said that the ballots must remain sealed under state law. Well, of course, because they investigated themselves. They don't want the ballots physically looked at. Right? They don't want the actual physical ballots or the digital copies of mail-ins looked at. That should tell you that they're really worried about something. Them trying to say that state law, the law written by the state, the Senate, that's to protect any Tom, Dick, or Harry from looking at these ballots, to protect from having any Tom, Dick, or Harry look at these ballots, it also applies to them. They would never write a law like that applies to them as well in this type of context. This is how stupid the county level GOP is, thinking that they can make something like that fly. It's ridiculous. The court's decision does not consider whether to enforce the subpoenas, but whether the subpoenas are legal and can be enforced. Yes, and I love how they throw that in. Well, they're not doing this. Like, wow, Washington Examiners really trying to carry away for the county GOP here. Senate leaders have said they are unsatisfied with the county's audits, including the latest audit performed this month by 2 independent firms that inspected the county's voting machines. Well, what were the see, this is the thing. Why would they have a problem with the Senate investigating this? This is, they are the ones who decide what laws are with voting in their state. They're the one, the legislature, the Senate. They're the ones that decide. They're the ones that are supposed to pick electors. They're the ones that are in charge. This should not be an issue. If they want to look at things, they should be able to look at things. It's really that simple. But you have this county board, your county board here, GOP run, basically being shady as all hell. And that should raise some serious red flags with people. Anyway, I've covered this well enough. I'm leaving things here. If you liked this video, depending on where you are watching it, please give it an upvote or thumbs up. If you want to know when new content of mine hits the internet, don't forget to subscribe to one or more of my social media or video accounts listed here.
Also, with YouTube, don't forget to ring that bell. You can find all of my video content on both BitChute and YouTube. This may not be the case with other places I upload to, but I will try to minimize this happening. You are always welcome to interact with me at any of these sites on the list, so feel free to do so. If you have anything you want me to cover in a video when it comes to news or current events, send it right along to me. I will try to do my best to cover it. As always, thank you for watching.